In today's lesson, we're going to look at something that's called simple interest. And to find simple interest, we're going to use this formula up here. It's I, which I stands for the interest, and that's going to be equal to P multiplied by R multiplied by T. And all of these letters have a meaning. We know that I stands for interest. It takes the first letter of the word. P does the same thing because P is going to stand for the principal. We're going to multiply that by R. R stands for rate, and that's always going to be written down as a percentage. And then T stands for the amount of time. Now, if we think of interest, we think of things like savings accounts, or if people have loans, or if you have something like a savings bond where you buy it for a certain amount of money, it gains interest, and when it gets to reach a certain age, it's worth more money than what you bought it for. So let's take, for example, let's say that your parents are going to loan you some money to buy your favorite teacher a Christmas gift. Let's say that your parents loan you $100. So I'm going to write that down. Mom loans you $100. This $100 is going to be our principal because that's what we start with. The principal is the amount of money that we start with. Now, your parents are nice. They're not just giving you the money. They're loaning you the money, which means they want it back. And normally when people loan money, they ask for interest. What that means is they charge you a little fee for them to loan you the money. So let's say that they're going to charge you 5% interest. So it's going to be 5% interest is going to be our rate. And let's say they're going to give you 1 whole year to pay them back. So they give you the $100 up front, and they say, I'm going to charge you $5 interest, and we like to have the money back in a year. So we'll say 1 year. We'll finish off our problem. Now I'm going to want back and use formula, but I'm going to want to plug in all of the information that we just received in order to really solve it. So we're going to find out. Interest is going to be equal to the principal, which we know is $100. The rate that we're being charged is 5%, and then we're going to multiply them by the amount of time that we have to pay this loan off, and we know that it's 1 year. So let's get started on this. First thing is the I remains the same, but now we can start to change some of these numbers. We know that our principal is $100, and since we are multiplying, I'm going to put all of these numbers inside parentheses. So that $100 is going to be multiplied by 5%. We're going to have to go back to previous lessons. 5% gets turned into a decimal by putting a decimal at the end of the 5, moving it over 2 spaces, which now becomes this number, 0.05. And finally, we want to multiply that by the amount of time that we have to pay this loan off. And we go back to our problem. Your parents are giving you 1 year to pay them back. So that's really simple. It's going to be times 1. Now, first things first, I've got to multiply this 100 by my rate, which is 0.05. So 100 times 0.05 equals 5. Now, don't get scared about that. You could use a calculator if you had the opportunity, or you could write this problem out and do it on paper. I know that every one of you can do that. So the first step is done. I took my principal and I multiplied it by my rate. It gave me 5. Now I need to take this number and multiply it by the amount of time. This is really easy because we know 5 times 1 is 5. So the interest that you end up paying back to your parents to borrow this money is $5. And now since I found the interest, what I can do is I can take the interest, go back and add it to the principal, and that is the total amount of money that you actually have to pay back to your parents. Because remember, they want more than $100 because they're charging you a 5% rate. Well, to find out how much we owe them, we take our principal and we add it to the interest. Well, now we know what the interest is. So the principal was 100, the interest was 5, 100 plus 5. That means what you're going to end up owing your parents back after you buy me my Christmas present, you're going to owe them $105. So remember, we have to use this formula for everything. I stands for interest, P stands for the principal, R stands for the rate, that's how much interest they're charging you, and then T stands for the amount of time that you are given to pay back this loan.